What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital. We're here with Dr. Mitchell, co-founder, CEO, and director of Hemp Fusion. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, man. How are you?
Great, excited to have you back. So I'd love to get an update on Hemp Fusion and what's changed since we last spoke.
Well, since we last spoke, a lot of things are happening. You know, we put out a press release to talk about this, and it wasn't the order size itself that was significant. It was more of about the global reopening of certain business elements that in 2020 were hindered, right, because of COVID, and the fact that one of our largest international customers gave us a just shy of $250,000 PO, which in and itself is not a large PO, but it's just an indication of a very positive one that the world, from the international perspective, is reopening, and they're starting to move back to a place of business that we once had. And so we were very, very hopeful about the international markets, especially because this customer is a very, very large customer of ours, specifically on the Probulan side of our business and the probiotics. And so very, very exciting to see that happen. Also, I'm sure you saw the press releases on both of our definitive agreements related to the acquisition of both Apothecana and Sagely Naturals. So to say that we're busy is quite an understatement, but we're extremely happy about how things have been going so far in Q2 and can't wait to share our Q2 results just to show the type of movement that's happening, and just very excited in general.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about those. So first, Hemp Fusion recently signed a definitive agreement to acquire leading CBD brand Sagely Naturals. Can you tell us more about this and how it will benefit the company?
Absolutely. You know, on the surface, whenever you hear the word acquisition, it's often thought that you're buying sales. And that is true. You buy revenue because there's revenue there, and you don't want to, you want to buy a company that's at a certain stage of revenue that makes sense to align and combine. And Sagely Naturals epitomizes that for sure. I mean, they're just the epitome of that. They've done a very good job themselves with distribution of their products into 14,000 locations, to the likes of Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and so on. They've done an excellent, excellent job. What I was most impressed about them is that they focused primarily on topicals, which is an area, honestly, other than our OTC drug-listed topicals, we have not done as a company, because we were focused more on the ingestible side, specifically from the regulatory compliance angle, to make sure we had products that are built for the future, right? And so what's really unique about this is they are the largest woman-founded CBD company. And to their words, I'll use their words exactly, they said their goal is to revolutionize the medicine cabinet to help women feel their best. And so I always thought that that was really awesome, because they have a completely different segment that a lot of companies are going after. Mm-hmm. And their team is just awesome. And so just looking forward to it. But what's really the most important to mention is that it's taken about 8 months to get to this definitive agreement stage. I mean, we were in negotiations on this months before we even went public. And so as a result, there are a lot of things that have to be worked out. But what is exciting is that they don't really have an ingestible side of their business yet. And we have an extremely compliant ingestible side of our business, well built out with an entire infrastructure and everything from soil to oil. And so as a result, we can near immediately upon the closing of this deal, be able to install an entire efficient, well-positioned ingestible program for them that will give them as a company the lead out that they need to be successful as well in their own right. And so that acquisition, though, more than doubles our revenue on its face based on the 2020 revenues. Now, when you consider installing an entire ingestible program and also take a lot of the work that we're doing from a digital perspective and help them with that they themselves even admit the digital side of things are a bit of a weakness, and we're starting to gain strength there, will also help them excessively well. So we're incredibly excited because it aligns with what their needs are, we can provide. And what we don't have, they can provide. And so as a result, it's an amazing partnership that is going to really do good things in the future. We're very excited about where that's heading.
That's very exciting. So also, Hemp Fusion entered into a purchase agreement, talking about your second acquisition, to acquire 100% interest in Apothecana for consideration of up to $25 million. Can you tell us more about this?
Absolutely. And so Apothecana and Sagely Naturals, we started talking to them about the same time. Now, why Apothecana is uniquely interesting. First of all, they have a private label side of their business that's really with interesting customers that opens up an entire new category for us as it relates to, or I should say, an entire new division, if you will, of our business that will help us grow in a very, very different way that we weren't growing from that perspective yet. But additionally, over half their business, or roughly half their business, is online, which puts them into a closer ratio of what CBD sales are coming from. Now, here's what's really, really special. They too have zero ingestible sales. And so for us, we are already working on developing their entire ingestible lineup that near immediately upon the closing of this deal, we'll be able to execute an entire ingestible program. And with half of their sales coming from an online perspective, we will access these digital consumers, these direct-to-consumer shoppers that have been loyal for years with Apothecana. And we're going to be able to offer them now ingestible products they previously have not been able to acquire from Apothecana. Again, when you were to combine based on a 2020 revenue basis, take Sagely Naturals, Hemp Fusion, and Apothecana, combined, it more than triples our revenue, but also exponentially increases the opportunity. Again, synergy was key. It wasn't just about acquiring immediate sales. It is actually about performing what I had mentioned over a year ago with my team, was that consolidation was inevitable. That there is not enough consumer interest at this time to support the likes of over 3,500 brands selling virtually about the same type of products. And so when you look at what we're trying to accomplish, we want to make sure that we build a synergistic grouping of companies at some point to where we are a brand enterprise that offers so many different options to consumers so their needs are met. It's very, very important.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing I love is the fact that it was part of your long-term strategy. So,
Absolutely.
What does this mean for the overall strategy for Hemp Fusion? M&A has always been part of your plan. What do you think this means for the company's future in the CBD space?
So, in some of our earlier interviews, I couldn't talk about our M&A strategy too much because we hadn't announced anything specifically, but M&A has always been a part of the strategy. I just want to remind everybody that in 2019, we acquired Probulin. And now in 2021, we acquired Apothecana, and literally about 10 days later acquired, signed a definitive agreement, to acquire Sagely Naturals. This has always been a part of our plan, and this will not be our last. Now, I can't get into more details of what we're thinking about there, but it is something very strong and very focused. But every acquisition that we have already done and the ones that we will do in the future are very strategic, that fill a unique part of the business in a special way that helps us to grow beyond just those typical organic boundaries. Sometimes it expands to a new marketplace that is very, very unique. And so, again, very, very large part of our strategy, and very important.
Great. So can you give us any updates from the FDA and how they will benefit Hemp Fusion?
Absolutely. So where it stands right now is that it's a bit status quo in the sense of getting information directly from the FDA, but this is what's encouraging. Back in February, the House of Representatives bill that was put into Congress, which is HR 841, which basically aims its focus at having CBD added to the definition of dietary supplements according to the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, which means within the law that the FDA uses to govern dietary supplements, CBD and other cannabinoids derived from hemp, according to the definition put out by the 2018 December 20th Farm Bill, right? As long as it's compliant, then you would actually be able to use these in dietary supplements. And that's a very important piece of the puzzle because that opens up a unique door. Now, additionally, about in the last 2 weeks, Senator Wyden out of Oregon put in front of the Senate Senate Bill 1698. And this particular bill not only focuses on adding CBD to the definition of dietary supplements, but also food and beverage accordance to the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act. Now, between the likes of these two bills, they have extremely strong bipartisan support from the Democrats and Republicans, nearly balanced, honestly. And it's just very, very positive. Anytime you have that strong of bipartisan support, it's unlikely to fail, but might have some nuanced change to it and things of that nature. And why this is important is the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act very specifically lays out what the definitions are of a dietary supplement and how you must, as a company, adhere to those regulations. And so what a lot of people often think is they think that this law will just make CBD legal. No. What it does is it empowers a specific law, the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, to lay out the regulations of what it means. So in order to sell it as a dietary supplement, you have three options then, according to the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act. One is you're going to have to prove that it was in the food supply in its exact form prior to the IND being filed, which is the investigative new drug by GW in 2006. And here's what I'll tell you. I jokingly say, I've heard of people thinking that there are unicorns, but I've never seen one. Trying to fight that battle, you will most certainly come up with objections from the FDA and likely never get through on that. So there's the two other ways that are most important are, one, you go the GRAS route, which is generally recognized as safe route, doing all the toxicology studies in relationship to the FDA Red Book 2000 guidelines, which then put you in a position to either be self-GRASed or GRAS with FDA submission. And what that does is it allows you to add it to a dietary supplement as a food additive ingredient or to a food or beverage. And what's awesome is we've already completed all those toxicology studies. In fact, we have already put in with our publisher, our NOEL, the No Observed Adverse Effect Level manuscript, which is the first step to get to being able to declare, not the first step, the last step before you declare self-GRAS. Now, the other is what's called an NDIN, New Dietary Ingredient Notification, and that is a direct submission to the FDA. Here's what's important. We've also, already developed and published our NDIN. And what I mean by published, we're ready to submit. We have completely built it, and it's a compilation of a dossier that you submit to the FDA for review. And so why I share all this detail is that this positioning is what's going to be important. Not only that the law starts to move in favor of CBD as a dietary supplement, but that you're also prepared as a company. And I would estimate that less than a handful of companies are anywhere close to being as ready as we are right now. And so that's very, very key. In fact, our council, our regulatory council said, Jason, you guys, from an NDIN perspective, which we believe will be ultimately what the FDA is going to really accept, is that you might be one of the farthest along in this process at this point. So we're very excited about that. And that opens up the doors to so many other things that I'm sure once we get there, we'll talk about, because I don't want to let the cat out of the bag per se, but it's not just about distribution, because that'll never happen automatically, like overnight. It doesn't do that. It happens over a period of time once those laws pass. But there's other things to consider what that represents for us. And it's very important.
Yeah, I'm excited to cover it. So what's the one thing you're most excited about for in the coming year?
The most exciting thing for me is that it's been tough in CBD for many years, and we've been fighting that fight unbelievably well, but always towing the line of ethics and doing what is right. And other companies did not necessarily follow that same line. And so while they might have got more distribution and sales initially, I can tell you for a fact is that we're finally hitting our stride. And I wake up every day feeling very, very enthusiastic and happy about the directional positioning of our company, even from an organic perspective where it's heading, but then also also through the strategic acquisitions and so forth on how this is going to help the enterprise as a whole. And I hope that the shareholders begin to see that, because I think they're going to see a picture much brighter than they'd ever thought. So.
Awesome. And finally, what's the best place for investors or anyone interested in the company to find out more information?
Absolutely. They can go to hempfusion.com, scroll to the bottom for the investor page, and all the information is there.
Thank you so much, Jason. And thanks for all the updates. I look forward to continuing to cover the story and having you back on for some more updates.
Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it and love being here. Thank you.
All right, guys, that wraps up the video. Thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to say, if you do support me, the channel, and all these videos, then kindly smash that like button along with hitting the subscribe button and the bell for notifications for future videos. I did also want to say, check the disclaimer down below. This video was sponsored by the company that we are talking about today. So check the disclaimer, full disclosure, and we're out of here. Always remember, guys, Departures Capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell a stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell a stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you make your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. We'll see you guys in our next video.